All right, we're live and direct. So good morning, my brother. Oh, in fact, good afternoon now. We just tripped
That's it,
over into the
man.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Good
just tipped
afternoon.
over.
Yeah,
But,
a glorious, glorious day today. How you doing?
I am well. There's just something about waking up and just having a good day that just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm in a great space, so I'm owning it,
Yeah,
and and I'm taking that forward and trying to be infectious with the people around me. So yeah, let's go with that.
yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I think the sunshine plays a big part in that. I try to carry my own sunshine with me, but I think when it's actual sunshine, like the world just appears in technicolor. Like the trees look vibrant, like the air smells good, and then if people are doing a little barbecue here and there, it's working for me.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I align with everything you say, man. But whenever we link up, it's good anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is. Two energy brothers. So I'm so delighted to be able to have this conversation and share coffee with you today. And I know you've got the hard stop, and I sense already we're gonna have to do this again because we're just gonna get started, and then it's gonna be, oh my God, you've got to go. So Ade Ahmadu, founder, career consultant at Cerculate. Thank you for saying yes and for making this happen. Um, I thought it'd be really good for people to get a sense of your background as we kick off to just situate themselves with you. And maybe if we could focus on your formal education, because that, as a starting point, fascinates me for its richness and variety. So yeah, maybe you could walk us through the choices there, and then we'll move and we'll chop it up as we always do anyway.
Yeah, like please keep me honest because I can talk and I can't talk, so it's a bit of a weird one. I'm an interesting juxtapose. But I have to start by saying, I'm a man of faith, and by all definitions of the count, not worthy of any position that I ever think I would be in, right? And that's me being honest.
Mm,
I think you've caught me at a really great time where I've had some reflection on my identity and who I am, and simply put, I'm no one, and so it's amazing to ever be considered to be used and speak to people.
mm,
But I'm a man of one wife, two kids, play three instruments. I always say that that's such a great start. One, two, three.
yeah.
And then yeah. So just to kind of deep dive in what you've kind of called out education. Um, State school, primary school, secondary school, and then went to university, and wasn't necessarily a red brick. I call it out. I went to Kingston University, studied media and business. For what it was worth, I did accounting and finance for 1 year,
Mhm.
and then I kind of quickly decided that wasn't the pathway I wanted to go. So
Mm,
I pivoted to business and media studies. That was great. As it were, graduated, started working, and then did a master's in international banking and finance, which is
mhm.
also an interesting MSc, for what it's worth. And that was part time. And then years later, decided to take education by the helm again, and for all purposes, went back to do my executive MBA at Warwick Business School,
Yeah.
which was a very enlightening journey.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason why it probably aligns with my initial statement of like, I'm by no means of the count worthy of anything I've done. I'm not in academia, and I'm not necessarily someone that's even educationally inclined.
Mhm.
But my aim was to go there to experience it and make relative the journey for others
Mm,
who also wanted to progress and do
mm.
an executive MBA. So my aim was to aim for the top, and by the grace of God, I was able to achieve the distinction that I set out to. But not wasn't an easy feat by any means of the stretch, but very
Yeah.
much a life changing experience, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that I think what a journey, and I love it, like I say, for the richness and the variety. And I didn't know about the accounting and finance pivot at the beginning. So that's even another aspect too. But I think the executive MBA and the journey that you went on to do that, plus be a married man, man of faith, active in your church, plus have children. I think that's really what brought you to my attention, like in its fullness. Because I knew of you, I knew we knew of each other, but watching you navigate that and all the pressures, I think I was like, yeah, this guy's he's cut from something slightly different, some sort of different type of crazy, but I mess with that. So thank you for taking us through that. And then because of time, I think we could deep dive, but I want us to talk a bit about that theme of variety, and I see it as the spice of life. And I think the same can be said about your career history, because to be honest, the question one should ask is what sectors has Ade not worked in, not what he has worked in, because you tell the story, because this is your story. Like,
yeah, no, and I'll try and simplify it again. And at any point, if you want to draw more out, like, and there's a sticking point, let me know.
Yeah.
So when I sort of was in my last year of uni for my undergrad, I was working part time in a bank. And I'll be specific. Actually, it was Halifax, which is part of Lloyd's banking group, and it was a branch in Peckham. And I say that specifically for a reason, not because of anything else, but probably the one experience that shaped my whole kind of insight into what being customer centric is. And so, and I'll just dwell on that just briefly. And Peckham is a very challenging branch, to say the least, because you have challenging customers from all backgrounds, and I'll leave people to use their imagination as to why that is, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, I was able to leverage and understand the ability to connect with people on human level, regardless of their status, regardless of the challenges that they face in, like, just getting a bank account. And you'll be shocked how challenging that can be for people in those areas. And what I learned is around, like, creating human connection to then provide customer-centric services. And it's such a powerful place. You know, I learned around the rapport built with colleagues, and how having the right people on the team is really important for creating a psychological safe space to thrive. And I never knew of any of these words or what those things meant when I was working there, by the way. It just felt good. That's all I could say as of then. But looking back and in hindsight, it was such the place that was amazing. I'll throw in a little bit of spice in there to say that's where I met my wife.
Yes.
Take that sip of coffee.
So I'm going to confirm or deny whether there's anything extra to make it Irish. For it.
So you know that we both worked there, so it's an interesting, like, foundational base. And so quickly, during that, I stayed in financial services for a number of years, progressing and moving into sort of like being a business analyst and being a project manager and helping in a new space, which is around business reform, and where businesses and banks and financial institutions had sold financial instruments and products like PPI. There was a need and a mandate from the FCA to really look at their business practices in the lens of treating customers fairly. And so a lot of my work was like, okay, how do we do that? And so I had the technological appetite to want to effect change in that way, where maybe some of the old guns who were working there and had the knowledge just didn't have the appetite. They were on their way out. So that was like a great opportunity for me to leverage skills and learn new things in a space where no one was an expert. And that's kind of been my career, opportunity and time. I then moved into pharmaceutical industry, but within finance, having had a little bit of healthcare experience when I was doing financial services. And that was about 3 or 4 years, and phenomenal. I would say the paradigm shift in my career. And that was because I had a great manager. Phenomenal. Like, we connect today and we speak about some of the experiences that we went through. And I'm forever grateful for that experience. Then COVID hit, and during that, it's weird because obviously, like, I had worked for a mining company. Such a weird one. Once again, doing transformation and change, because that's what the working at GSK afforded me the opportunity, is work within transformation, change, business transformation, getting the business from one place to another, post a merger. Some of this might sound like fluffy words, but in the simplest form, we want to get from A to B. How do we do it in a way that makes us much more competitive as an organization? And that was the crux of what I do, right? And it, follow me, go somewhere. Then I got headhunted into tech. And why not start in, like, one of the biggest tech firms, right? Phenomenal. I remember I got the message on LinkedIn and I said, this is a hoax. Like, come on. But followed it through anyway and managed to get in. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, you look surprised. I'm not surprised, because everything you said so far tells me that if you try something, you're more than likely to succeed. But carry on with it. But I'm not.
Yeah, no, very like interesting world, and I'm grateful that I went in at the time that I went in. I definitely feel like if Ade went in earlier, I might have got lost in the sauce. And but going in at a very mature age, having experienced other institutions, and I know what was attractive from my background was having worked in two highly regulated environments.
Mhm.
One being financials, money. Second being pharmaceuticals, don't want to kill people. And so with that experience, taking that into a new space within like regulatory reform in the tech space,
Yeah.
I had a service offering that was attractive. Um, and yeah, since then I've tried to kind of then stay within the tech space and or that sort of like forward moving space. But
Mm.
a lot of my experience has then led, and this is where I think is really amazing, and a lovely segue. My experiences and my lived experiences and my corporate experience and work experience had kind of led me to okay, some people did help me along the way, but a lot of my journey was navigating it and kind of what happens here?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
might hit today and it doesn't hit tomorrow, and if you dress good, maybe you will come under the radar. Some of the mistakes you made might be received in a way that is not too detrimental to one's career. I think going into tech was the first time where failure was accepted as or celebrated. Let's fail quickly and let's learn from that failure and let's iterate. And I can use the term design thinking, which something that I learned from my MBA, which basically is we put something out in its simplest form, we learn from it, we iterate, we improve, we get customer feedback, and we continue doing that until we get this amazing product. That way we haven't like spent millions and millions on trying to build the perfect thing, but we've actually learned from what the customer wants. And
Yes.
I loved that. For me,
Mm.
it's such a refreshing mindset to have that. And so that's why I felt like I merged with tech. Then in amongst all of that, I did my coaching training. And you're probably going to want to ask, so I'll let you ask whatever questions you want to ask on
Yeah.
that. I'll
I
stop
do.
there. That's how we
I
done the
do. I
career
do.
thing.
And this is why I said to you, like, we're probably definitely gonna have to do, because it's such a rich tapestry that you weave with what you talk about. And there's bits that spike for me, and I'm sure listeners will have different things that resonate for them. But it's fascinating to me when you talk about your experience at Halifax and the things that you came to realize about the environment. It felt good. You speak to me about culture and the importance of culture, and then you talk about later on in your career having an excellent manager. You talk to me there about the people, and for me, the culture and the people, and for many of us, like, these are the linchpins of any organization that you're going to work in. And what I see really marvelously working through, talk about TCF, but business reform is change is the one constant. We know that, right? But your work has directly been involved in the mechanism by which the culture and the people come together to improve something that wasn't right or something that needs to be better. And now what you've landed on is about testing and learning. And I'm just like, when you talk about failing and then learning from it and moving forward, I'm like, I think you've just solved the world's problems. Like, many of us are scared to do that. Like, we don't want to make a mistake. We believe we have to know it all. And your journey is exact testament. This is why I needed to talk to you, bro. I needed to. You can try something, you can change something, and you can keep growing, and you don't have to lose your way in that process. In fact, you can grow from what you go through. So I just had to that's just beautiful the way you put it. So segue away we will. Coaching makes absolute sense with everything that you've synthesized, but you don't need to do it when you've got great jobs with great organizations, probably getting paid some great money. I've been out with you, I see how you dress. It's nice. It's nice. so to take on the extra qualification and to put yourself through that, I'm really fascinated about the call to build that as part of your extensive portfolio of things that you can bring to the panel.
Yeah, no, firstly, and I will keep me honest, but thank you for kind of synthesizing that, because the golden thread, which I think sometimes when I've had to do introspection in, is that customer centricity. And if you bring that to a higher level, it's basically serving people.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that brings me to the beautiful segue of like, why did I do coaching? And so, you know, and I won't make this too long, but in 2018, 19, I think there was this sense of like, okay, like there must be more to life than going to day-to-day work and just grinding, right? And it comes from, I think the nature of the work I was also doing was a lot of contracting, which is one pathway. I don't know what the ideal pathway is. What it did is it afforded me to work with different organizations without looking like I don't want to commit. Like almost like the management consulting model, but as an independent person, right? Had this, there must be more to life. So I can only be really candid and call out that that's when I went on a pursuit of purpose. And so for the first thing I did was got a career coach myself, because like, what's the next level? And the misconception I had, admittedly, and probably maybe a lot of people do, I can't generalize, is, oh, I'll go in and this person's going to tell me exactly what I'm supposed to do next. And so you can imagine my shock and horror when I'm going in and I'm getting asked questions and I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on here. I'm telling you, this is a problem. I'm going to need some answers here. And for anyone who hasn't had coaching, the whole premise of coaching is to use tools and ask strategic questions that help to build clarity, so that that individual can then start making action bias steps to move forward. And so that's exactly what it was. So I had this whole, okay, had to think, had exercise, had to do, but I was so enriched by the actual process that it dawned upon me that, wow, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is it. And then I went on a further pursuit. I read a book called Purpose Driven Life. Not plugging it, it's there, Rick Warren, but it's part of my journey. And going through that 2-day journey of reading that book, really having that mindset shift around everything that I do from the moment I wake up is to serve my immediate community and the humanity around me, not necessarily being able to touch the whole of the world, because maybe that's not my whole ethos, but the fact that I'm supposed to serve, mind blown. So I said, right, great. So when I've done my coaching accreditation, but I was like, it can't just stop there. And so there was this well-rounded mindset around, like, if I want to help executives, and I probably got to be an executive and I got to experience it, talk it, understand the language. And that's what led to coaching accreditation, doing my executive MBA, actually going through and actually, because the accreditation means you're sitting down with people and you get basically coaching lots of people free of charge to try and build that portfolio and get signed off. And so that's what led me there. And so everything that happened and didn't happen in my life, all the experiences that were adverse and I might consider were good, had all prepared me for that one moment. And that's how, the ideation of the name of my organization, Cerculate, came across. And even furthermore, started to build the roadmap of things I'm doing. Obviously, I can't say everything, but you understand that the pull and the call to helping individuals was always there, because you poetically said it, being customer-centric, wanting to help organizations transform from one place to the other. That's all in the characteristics of everything that embodied what I'm doing today, right? Like, I can't run away from it. It's weird. I'm playing it, you played it back, and I've just had a light bulb moment, like, right, this is insane what you just called out.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I often see and encourage people to try and hold on to, to be present and dance in the moment, like we do as coaches, right? We turn up. I used to think, as a coach, I need to know the answer. No, we turn up and we hold space for that individual, for that elevation of their level of self-awareness and responsibility, etc. As you put it, action bias steps, etc. But I say to people, stay calm and stay present, because when you do that, you'll be able to appreciate where you are and where you've come from. And the more I have these conversations, the more I realize that whatever the point of change was, or addition, because I know, you do a beautiful job of blending opportunities in the corporate world with supporting people as well. Whatever the call is and when it comes, everything that you've done, you'll look back on and be like, oh my God. And it is mind-blowing when you realize that there was nothing that was wasted. Adversity, opportunity, nothing was wasted. And you talked about purpose-driven life. I've got this other book that you recommended to me, The Principles. I'm almost there, bro. Almost. I'm literally up to here. I'm almost there. And then purpose-driven life is coming. But when you read these sorts of stories and you understand the people that have gone before you, like, there is no easy way to that purpose. You just got to sit with it for long enough to synthesize all the experiences. And I think I recommended to you Tuesdays with Maury, the book by Mitch Albom. That's similar to that's why me and you, right? Because in that bit, I think I told you, he said giving is living, and when he's felt the most alive is when he's giving. And for the moment that clicked, it really started me on the journey as well. It's like, what can I give? And for me, it's been a channel of God's peace to bring us back to that peace so that we can make the best decisions in the most loving ways that will serve our families, communities, companies, and then ultimately the world. And then isn't that something like we are making a little heaven on earth right here?
Look, I've had to act corporate in it. Obviously when we do our dinners in it, I'm screaming, I'll be banging the table like from what you just said in it. And this in it, but you just see a lot of stuff there. Yeah, no, I just want, and yeah, just and because some people are uncomfortable with pause, and we sit and pause. Like, this is a pause moment, because giving is living, and so there's a whole essence around. And some people have the privilege of being able to find this out like at a particular point in life after they've achieved so much. They've gone through all the riches, and actually their riches then enables them to then say, oh, I'm actually going to do something meaningful and impactful. And whether that means it's like a easy way to do it or not, the likes of us, we have the constraints of still having to like figure out, day-to-day grind. Right. And so maybe actually that's a blessing in disguise, because it's more of a case of like, we have to actually be more creative and much more intentional about how we're showing up to impact. Right. But there is an innate longing in every individual to discover exactly what they were on earth to do.
Yeah.
Like we find it in different forms. People want to be Zen. They want to be in tune with it. So there's so many books that's written, but they all lead back to like, who am I? What am I supposed to do, right? In its simplest form. And so when one lies down at bed in night and it's just between you and yourself, there is a peace, tranquility that can only come from if you are reconciled with exactly what you're supposed to do. Yeah. I hope that makes sense with everyone that's saying it. And so that reconciliation does require work. And I think sometimes we shy away from that, from the norms of society, i.e., you go into an organization, specifically finance, for example. You go in, you're an associate, then you become maybe like a VP or a management consultant. You become a VP, you become like president, you go up, you go director. There is that pathway, and that's like, yeah, you don't stir away from that. Some might find an enlightenment during that journey, and then this, go and discover what they're supposed to do. But one of my charges to people, and I think, we've always discussed this, is that if I ever meet someone for the first time and that's the last time I meet them, the very least I want to do is kind of like impart into them and say like, look, at least have that introspection around, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And that could be seasonal as well, by the way. So what you do today might change, and it might be completely different tomorrow. And all of that, by the way, because if it wasn't seasonal, all of everything I've done has led me nicely to where I am today. So actually, I'm appreciative of all of those seasons. But what I've now learned is about having that overarching and what some people might call North Star, that purpose, that like specific golden thread and or reason that kind of gives you purpose to everything that you do. And that's why books like Purpose-Driven Life, Principles, and everything that we start to build as like pillars that help build that identity helps, because we have that calling that we're pulled to, which kind of acts as our navigating star. And that, and we've discussed lots of times, it's not the destination that counts, it is the journey. My gosh. Yeah. Like, do you understand? And oftentimes, sometimes I sit down and I think those 3 letters or 4 letters or whatever, the EMBA that I went for, it's 4 letters. But from the beginning when I started till the end when those 4 letters were achieved, those 4 letters mean nothing to anybody.
No.
Yeah, because it's 4 letters, bro. Can you read it? 4 letters. You put it in a different language, it might be more letters. Who knows? But from everything in between that is what carries substance. So went in, did my first module, so enthusiastic, hit, got a distinction, amazing. Reality quickly hit by module 3 when all the euphoria had worn off, and I was doing economics, which I just wasn't the best, and I got a 50, and I was like, all my days, like, yeah, I'm gonna pass this. I've got another 9 to go. How are you gonna do this? Do you understand?
Right.
And all of those things in between were sick and hospitalized, and all these things and barriers and like obstacles that I had to overcome. And yeah, probably that is another episode, by the way. But you know, like in just getting through that was only ever achieved by looking at the prize, right? And that prize isn't the EMBA, right? Which on my wife regularly reminds me, bro, like, yeah, well, you need to level up for us. You need to level up for us. Yeah, I get that. But all of that was pinned, and the pinnacle of that was pinned, and the push was pinned by the impact that it would afford me to have on other people. And that's mad, right? Because everyone was like, I'm CEO of this, and I've worked at all of these companies, and they were all introducing ourselves. And I said, hey, we don't have all those accolades to say apart from I'm just here to do this and to make it relative to my community who also have the opportunity to be great. And I had unsung amount of people come to me after and be like, wow, that was phenomenal. But I was only living my truth. I couldn't come in and be like, oh, I've done this project. It's not going to compare to everything that you guys have done. Right. I'm by miles the youngest here. I am one of 2 Black men. The numbers are crazy, but this is why I'm doing it. So yeah. I hope that is kind of clear for anyone who's listening. But we constantly go back and forth around how do we actualize impact, how do we make it relative, how do we continue to do that, and then also how do we as individuals, like yourself, myself, as coaches and people who are still connected to the corporate world, how do we also sustain our mandate, right? Because there's one thing to keep giving, right? But how do we now start building the ecosystem around us where, for example, I can pick up the phone to you, Kofi, and be like, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. And we can sit down and chop it up and talk about the realities, love.
I've done exactly the same, starting out, where stuff's come out, and I know I don't mind sharing it, where proposals come through. I'm like, okay, what should I do? Okay, what would Ade do? So I speak to you, and you kindly give me advice. And I think that's around finding your tribe. And I'm not saying that from a protected characteristic perspective, but more from a alignment in shared values, because we say similar things but in different ways. Of course, we're underpinned by the faiths, that helps, but your mission and my mission align insofar as we want to give. And there is a beauty in our brotherhood insofar as there's no competition, because you are you and I am me, and we're both working in service of God and everything else that we believe in to give of ourselves. So we don't have time to be equivalent, but then you do come across those that give and those that take. And I think as we grow, I'm not saying old, but wiser, maybe more experienced, it's beautiful to navigate away from those that will take your energy and then attract or move with those that, like your good self, will support you in growing your energy or combining with you to make even bigger impact and energy. So this is why when I did this, I was like, Ade, we need to find some time. I know we tried, we need to make this happen, because I need people to understand that I'm not the only one. I came after you, Ken, and you've been doing this for over 4 years now, is that right?
Yeah.
So I came after you and I was inspired in your journey. So yeah, there's a lot there, and the bromance will continue, will definitely continue. And I think it'd be good to just talk a little bit about some of the tools that you've used to, no, I'll skip that. I'll talk about the obstacles, because there is something about the conversation we're having, which is a bit of a hybrid, because I never want people to think that whatever they're doing is not worthy or they're on the wrong path. For example, I'm in a corporate setting and I work for a company. What we've said is that everything you do is in service of what you come to do. And sometimes that change might be you change environment, company to grow. you move up through an organization. It's not all about being an entrepreneur. And I think you've balanced that blend amazingly. So I'd like to just explore with you some of the obstacles that you've overcome. You did touch upon a couple, but just in this journey to hybridize, you know, the circulate piece, and then working on contracts here and there, and then like family, and then the MBA. My head is like, okay, how have you navigated the challenges, and what have some of those been, so that someone listening might be like, maybe, oh, that one, I'm definitely, what did Ade do? Do you know what I mean? How did he deal with it? So
yeah, okay, no, really, really good question, and I'll paint the picture. So, I think I applied for. I applied for Imperial College to do my MBA there, and I think this was 2018, right? So I'd applied, I got in. So that was like the first hurdle. I was like, fantastic, phenomenal. They want me. But, and quite candidly, at the time, I was looking for funding to try and you know, service that, because they're not cheap. And one of the funding forums that I was sort of going through basically fell through, and so I deferred my entry for 1 year, just to, you know, you got to count the cost and make it happen. You can't just be studying and then having that cost over your head. Then when we came right back to it, and I was meant to enroll, COVID had hit, and they were saying they were going to still charge the same amount as like the on-site MBA, but we'll be having a global online experience.
It's not the same.
It's not the same, and I appreciate that it was early on. So I'm not dogging them. It was early on, you know, in hindsight, and maybe a couple of months after they probably changed that model, but it just didn't work for me at that point in time. So I basically just retracted myself from that offer, and I was like, oh, am I really supposed to do it then? Like, it's not working. So even that obstacle of like having to do research, and a lot of the constraints were like, I wanted to really be in London, because I wanted to, I know myself, I needed it to be sustainable with my family life and everything else. So there was a few options, but I really wanted it to be like, for all purposes of, you know, this is my third time at education. Let's go with one of the top ones, right? So I think through a friend's experience, who went to Warwick, and having that third-hand sort of experience of what she had gone through, I applied for Warwick. So so even overcoming that kind of mental obstacle, am I supposed to do it? And I remember saying to God, like, if I'm supposed to do this, tell me where to go, and like we'll fit, like make the money count in it. So anyway, I applied for Warwick, got in as it were. I managed to experience like you know, getting the funding as well from the uni, because they believed in me. So I was able to enable me to go forth and do the course as an individual, and I was really candid. This is the first time I started to enter into like being comfortable with who I was, and then also declaring that. So I think, you know, my application said something like, I'm a black male in the UK at the time where there's no C-suite black executives. And I'm not trying to make this that agenda, it's not that, but I was just candid on it, and it was really refreshing to be received as I was, as a future change maker. But lo and behold is where the challenges started. So halfway during my degree, or my MBA rather, I pretty much fell sick and was diagnosed with a critical illness, which meant that I was on a hospital bed. And I remember that week, I had a coursework to hand in, and I was working towards it after having asked for an extension, but just trying to get through. I think one of my downfalls is not realizing when it's time to stop. I can really run myself to the ground rugged sometimes, and that's not good for anyone. And actually, you know, I wouldn't advise it on anyone. And so I found myself in a hospital bed, and was out for like a good few weeks, and pretty much got diagnosed with a critical illness that I've got for life, which for all purposes is heart related. But and so imagine that obstacle of that sort of coming out of that mental barrier of, oh, like, I'm still alive. So when people when I speak to people, say, how are you? And I say, I'm alive. Like, there is context behind that. I don't just
Yeah.
say that as a gimmick. Like, yeah, I'm alive. I'm here. But then having to navigate, like, getting back on board to study. So not only am I now faced with having missed that module, yeah, I have to do it again. But my wife is charging me and saying, we need you to finish this on time. You can't defer. And for all purposes, I had already written my letter to defer the course by a year. She's like, nope, we've already taken a year and a half of our time. Finish this
It
when you
needs to
need.
be done.
Yeah, like, dude, figure it out. And you're not dropping up the ball either. Like, we need you to get the grades you said you're going to go and get. So that was a lot of pressure, because then obviously I'm navigating a new job. So halfway through my MBA, I had left the pharmaceutical company to join this tech organization. And so I'm not just faced with, and this will explain probably why it was a lot. I wasn't just faced with a new job, which is hard by itself, navigating the degree, navigating my heart issue, doing my coaching accreditation at the same time, because I needed to finish it. And so the logic behind that was, if I'm studying, my brain's already engaged. It's just a little bit of extra juice to.
Okay, yeah, as you do. Yeah,
just like, if I'm engaged, I'll just treat it as an additional module or something crazy. And then a self-imposed mandate to be an executive producer for a music album, all at the same time.
Ade, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah. That was.
This here. I'm gonna come up with, please, with the story, but you don't. I don't think that you do things by heart. I just don't see it. You're full gas.
No, agreed.
I love that.
And obviously that was like as part of a church mandate, which I'd managed to galvanize, but for all purposes of, like, I needed to do my function, I needed to do it. And so you can see how time became really pressed at any point. So the challenges are now, here's the challenges. I'm waking up at 2 a.m. to do coursework.
Crazy.
I'm navigating, getting my boys school ready for school at 7. I'm trying to get into work for 10. Most times finish at 6, 7. Then I'm coming back to do maybe a 9 to 11 or 12 to do my coursework again. And that's if I'm not already on my way to the studio to help with some stuff. Probably the most, and I say hands down, challenging period of my life till date. Actually, no, maybe. Wait, till date at that time, until I experienced obviously more challenges after. And so some people might be like, oh, it's a given, like, you know, executives, that's the life they live. Yeah, it is the life they live. Great. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't challenging, right? Others might be like, why did you do that?
Yeah, that's what I would. I think I would love to know why you did it, but then how did you get through that? Because I see it like you're a car, you know, if we use an analogy, and you're driving, and it's sometimes, if it's a manual, you know, you could put it in a gear and you could redline for a period of time, but you redline the car for too long, the engine and the gearbox are not going to be your friend. And I see it as, in moments, we redline to push through. So why did you do it, and how did you do it? Because I think that how you did it might give some people some inspiration to say, like, okay, right, there is a way to redline for a period, you know.
Yeah, so definitely don't try this at home if there isn't a strong understanding as to why you're doing it.
Yeah.
There was a particular maybe itch in the back of my brain, was like, I'm catching up, and it was like a period in time of like, this just needs to be done in this section. Let's do it, right? I truly believe if I hadn't studied when I did, I wouldn't have met the people I met.
Yeah.
If I haven't done the coaching when I did it, I wouldn't have had experiences and helped certain clients that I needed to. If I hadn't done the music album, we wouldn't help the church mandate in releasing it when we needed to. But then none of it, you know, and so there was a trade-off of like asking my wife to having to pick up certain things, and the school of our family life obviously more heavily on her. But if I didn't have that release and that permission from my wife, there is no release for me to do anything outside, right? And so it's a holistic approach with like understanding the prize. And so all of that was because obviously I had my eyes on the impacts that all of these initiatives will have. How did I do it? There's a lot of honesty, test and trials, understanding failures, and then picking up and moving forward. There's times where I wanted to wake up and I didn't, but I would make sure I didn't miss 2 days in a row, so I'll just get back up. Don't miss 2 days in a row is an amazing rule. It gives you grace, but it also gives you discipline. And so you might have done something for 10 days, you missed 1 day, tendencies to beat yourself up about it. Just don't miss the second day, bro. Get back up. You know, in the grand scheme of things, make it a habit.
That's brilliant.
That was one. I think second one was understanding that I'm doing this for community. What is the prize without adversity? How do I build my adversity intelligence? Obviously, you know, we've talked about that. If you don't know what that is, just Google it.
You put me onto that.
That's a whole new. That's a whole new episode.
Yeah.
How do we build that? You know, that tenacity and, you know, some people say resilience, but the tenacity to keep pressing through, right? Because ultimately there was a prize that needed to be achieved, or impact rather, like I've called up, that needed to be achieved. Now I tell you, when you achieve these things, it's a moment of, oh, okay, it's a moment. I promise you, it's a moment. Doesn't compare to the feeling of when you realize the impact it makes. And I feel like that, having had a quick win of certain how this has impacted people, was a drive for me to make sure I kept going. I'm understanding that I'm doing it to serve people. I'm understanding that I'm not doing this for myself. I'm actually doing this for the people around me. And so, you know, don't miss a day. Learning, being efficient, being present. Oh my Lord. The power of being present is so much more accentuated when you're doing so many things, because you do not have the ability to claw back or catch up. I don't have the ability to go back and watch online lectures. I need to be here.
Right.
I don't have the ability to go back into that meeting at work and sit down with someone and say, what happened? I need to be here because I've got so many things going on that I just need to just be here. And so the power of being present, oh my Lord, was like the enabler. Because if you miss anything, just consider it gone with the amount of things that you're doing.
You can't catch up.
There wasn't it's not that, oh, you can't catch up. There just isn't the ability to catch up because I'm doing this. If I'm with my kids, I need to be present. Otherwise, you missed it. If you missed the school play, you've missed it. So being able to segment time, which really boosted my ability to, and I can't remember the technical term, but I remember doing research, and I'm sure we'll probably have to wrap up soon. Doing research, and it said you can't multitask; you can only supertask.
Oh, well, like that.
So your brain can't do two things at the same time. And I think the misconception here is, oh, like I might be talking and then drinking and driving on the phone. No, your brain is really good at da. And because I play musical instruments and do like certain things at the time, I think I started to deceive myself and think, oh, you can do all these different things at the same time. But no, if I'm talking to you now, then I don't have the ability to look at my phone. The moment I look at my phone, the ability to listen to you has shut off. Right?
You're not present.
I'm not. So the power of being present in certain scenarios, and so that meant like being prepared as well. So I didn't have the ability to go and look up notes after lectures. So I would try and read the lecture before, and then go with questions during the lecture because I need to understand what you're saying to me during this lecture.
Right now,
this is all I've got. This is all I've got, dude. Send me the pre-notes for the meeting because I need to be able to know that I'm going in the meeting, we're locked in, and we're coming at a meeting and we're driving actions. Yeah. You know, sharing a diary with my wife. What's happening next week? Because I need to know where I am, where I'm not. I need you to know what lectures I have and when I am, so that there isn't no one's dropping the ball. Well, who's picking up the kids today? Like,
I hear you. You know, I know that. Well, all forms of transport. Let's take it like our speed bullet train. We need to apply the brakes slowly because I don't want to stop. Because I know you were very honest with me about the hard stop, but I think to interject a little bit in everything that you said, there is a central core, spine, something which is intentionality. Is as I, you know, with intention to the impact, you've, to me, been hyper focused on what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, and the how has become apparent along the way. And I think we talked about this before, but you know, in Man's Search for Meaning, one of my favorite books, you know, the Viktor Frankl one, he says this thing about when we understand our why, we can bear almost any how. And I think when you said what you've been saying, I'll be like, this guy knows his why. I knew you did, but you really know your why, because, and you're so firmly anchored in it. It's almost like Malcolm X style, by any means necessary, I'm going to get this goal done, because it's bigger than you. It's not for status, it's not for the 4 letters, it's not for look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like, I want to do this in service of. So the layers upon layers that you've been building as we've been talking, for me, just makes me really respect and admire you even more, because, you know, when we talk and I get snippets of it, but as you're sharing it in that space, it's like, wow, purpose-driven life is definitely something that you're on a mission doing, man. You are the book. Let's forget, don't read the book. Listen to this episode and you'll understand what it is.
Oh, do you know what? You just said one of my favorite sayings. He that understands his why can bear almost anyhow. And I apologize for butchering who this is, and you might remember. There's a film called One Life, and it's about this guy. I'll remember his name later. Maybe if you put like a little banner or something. And he basically saved children in I think in Berlin and brought them to this country. The paradigm shift, and what really touched me in that movie is when, in his old age, he was brought to the BBC studio, and he thought it was just to say thank you that they found 1 or 2 people who he had saved. Lo and behold, and he went back a second time, and second time he went, the whole studio audience for all the people that he saved and brought to this country.
Oh wow.
And I'm gonna send it to you, and I feel like I should get the name now so that people know. The film's called One Life, and you know, I'm terrible at history in it, but from that point of view, it's so powerful to see that one man's decision, who was an investor, he was an investor, and he pretty much it's a biographical film of, I forget this guy's name, based on the human Nicholas Winton, rather. If anyone's interested in following his story, right? But when I watched that movie, I was ever more encouraged that everything we do is for everyone else around us, because in doing so, there were, you know, royalty was saved, people that, you know, would have worked in different environments to empower others. That kind of compound effect would have been experienced, right? And it wasn't easy for him because he had to smuggle these children in a plane. And at one point, you know, the last mission that he done, he couldn't, because obviously they got captured. And I'm not being a spoiler. This is a real life, so it's not like a film spoiler. If you can't understand what you're doing and why, you will get discouraged once you hit certain challenges. And I say to people, I approach life on the basis that every moment and every day is a challenge. You want to be rich, it's a challenge. If you're broke, it's a challenge. You would know. If you're fit, it's a challenge. If you're unfit, it's a challenge. If you're fit, it's a challenge, and you got diagnosed with a critical life, it's a challenge because they tell you can't do something. And so on the basis that everything in life is a challenge, why not find what comes easy to you and lean into it? And that's where I'm at now, because I've started to figure out things that come easier to me than others from a challenging point of view, that navigate and leave clues as to what it is I was made to do and why. And I feel like, you know, as we've started to put the brakes on, anyone who is at that sort of junction and at that point where they're like, what am I supposed to do? Think about the impact you want to make and lean in to the things that other people find challenging, that come easier to you. That starts to become breadcrumbs for what it is you're supposed to do as an individual.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, and it's beautiful because it was the question. I really wanted to, use the platform to support people knowing you and coming to you. And I think you've just hit the nail on the head from a coaching, career consulting perspective, how you could help people, in terms of connecting with why they want to do something so that they can find the steps and the breadcrumbs, as you put. I love it. Hansel and Gretel kind of stuff to take them to where they're supposed to be. So I know you've got T-minus 3 minutes before the next thing you've got to jump onto. So I don't even know what to ask you next, because you've hit me with so many amazing things that actually maybe I'll turn it to you for the last couple of minutes. If people could be left with any one thought from this conversation, I guess what would you want them to take away from it, really?
I know it's going to sound poetic and cliche, but there are 2 dates that are absolutely almost definite: the day you're born and the day you die. But the most important in that line is that dash. What did you do in that dash? And how did it impact people around you? And I really believe in that. Look, I think in a world where it's hard already, in a world where things are ever changing, and in a world where, there's so much disparity and so many things, why worry about what you don't have the ability to impact when you can focus on your circle of influence? Don't worry about the things you can't change, but rather lean into the things that within the circle of influence you can become accountable for and change. And I think people sometimes struggle with accountability. And I would want people to just step up, sit with yourself for a moment, figure out what you can control, and go with it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think we've put the brakes on nicely. And I would say for me, you really epitomize something a friend sent to me yesterday, which is, if you can't be a bridge, be a lighthouse. And I think you have definitely been both for me. And I think in this conversation, you'll be that beacon of light for many. And I hope they come to you looking to get that loving challenge, because I know you'll bring it, as you do with me, but also the support to really navigate this journey of life, the dash, as you put it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Beautiful, man. No, look, let's get this. Our dinner's due, so yeah. Don't worry, guys. We have our dinners,
We're gonna do it. But 12:58. I know you've got a dash for this thing, so do the thing, and we're gonna sort out some dinner. The sun's out, and the guns. I mean, yours are bigger guns, but we'll get the guns on the road again. We'll get the guns on the road again.
Yeah, speak soon, yeah.
All right, take care. Have a blessed day, brother.
Yeah, cheers.
Bye.